Something like that. All right.
Let you free my mind. It brings all the realness you will find. The time is 4 o'clock when the nation stops to free the mind. Free the mind. They don't let it show their way. I'm not free your mind. Just every time you will find no like free your mind. From the ghetto to the office, hustlers good as a guy. From the fuse to parliament,
I don't know what that is.
free them all. I got to free
No, it's Johnny spraying shit on me. I don't know. Help me press the button. Who are you trying to reach? You would have to send them the link, eh? Interesting. Star 106 hits. Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Free Your Mind. Brought to you courtesy of KFC, Fender Tile, Muffler World, Lactogen 3, distributed by Lightburns Trading, Guinness Smooth. Also, of course, I want to say a big thank you to Comfort Sweets, Juicing for Life, discount distributors, and Produce Express, and the Galley at Sunrise, aka Sunrise Cafe, number 2 on Fire Trail Road. I'll tell you about all the wonderful things happening down there and so much more. It's good to be in your company. Of course, we've made it to the end of another work week. Now time for the weekend. So shout out to everybody locked and loaded, channel 976 on cable. Of course, everybody that's tuned in, of course, on the FM band 106.5. And then Facebook has got a Star 106 on Facebook and Natural Empress on Facebook. It's good. It's good to be here and good to have y'all. As I also welcome my guest, Dr. Anika Boshi. This is part 2. This is the follow-up. This is a Bahamian doctor who is here conducting a study, of course, as it relates to school in the Bahamas since COVID. And I'm very interested to find out what has transpired in the last 2 weeks, just before her departure and her taking this knowledge back to Oakland.
Yep.
I'm interested to find out, how was the survey? How did it go, Doc? And welcome once again. Good to have you.
Thank you very much, Empress, and I am honored to be here. So for the study, it went phenomenal. It was fantastic. The response from the Bahamian community, from the Bahamian special ed community, was amazing, especially during COVID. I mean, I had over 60 individuals so far who've participated, who've called me, interviewed with me, filled out a survey. So thank you very much to my Bahamian people. Thank you very much. And so I just had to give us props for that. I mean, I've heard from Exuma. I've heard from Harbor Island, Grand Bahama, New Providence. I'm hoping to still hear as a few more trickle in from the other islands as well. But yeah, so really good representation. I've heard from service providers, teachers, principals, administrators, clergy, and of course parents. And so the response has been amazing.
Now, for those that weren't a part of the first show with you and I, please just reiterate what the study was about, what for, and what you're
Yes.
trying to obtain.
Yeah, so the study is on what is happening with special ed during COVID. You know, like and we wanted perspectives from our parents, our teachers, our service providers, our administrators, and anyone who's involved with the special ed community. They were just calling in or they were completing surveys and letting us know. And so myself, I'm working alongside Ms. Therese Curry and then Philandra Smith. So it's a team of us working together to just to report back to the Bahamian community, and also suggestions that people have said, like how can we support our students with special needs? How can we support them better, them and their families? Yeah. And
Okay, so the survey and the whole study is basically almost complete, correct?
Almost complete. Yes, ma'am. Almost complete. I mean, I'm here up until 2 more days. So folks want to still call me 829-7477. And so if folks want to still call me, there's surveys out there. You can, and people within the community already have them. So what I would say, those of us who have already completed a survey, forward on to someone else who you know is in the special ed community, especially those of us who live on the family islands, because we still want more representation from them too, just to say what's going, just to see what's going on, and for some folks, they say, well, I can tell you ain't nothing going on in special ed. I mean, some people say that. So if that is actually true in the family islands, where's the data to show it, right? So again, the importance of a lot of times we think we know, or we do actually know, but you need the data to say, hey, this is actually the case.
I was just about to say, explain to us, because like you said, you're supposed to just know, that's just how it goes. You just know. I want you to explain why it is, other than the Bahamas, we don't understand the importance of the collection of data. So let's take it from there.
I think that's many reasons, right? I mean, and sometimes it's just not knowing, suspicion. Sometimes we have suspicion about, well, what is data? Sometimes we don't want to give our perspectives because we think it's going to follow us, especially when you live in a small country like the Bahamas and I've noticed the same thing in other small island states throughout the Caribbean. We'd be like, child, I ain't filling up, I ain't signing that. I'm not giving you my name. I don't connect me to that, because people can easily identify you. So for example, even if I were to report back out to the Bahamian community, I wouldn't say specifically this island said or that school said, because if you go into the school, you actually know who it was who spoke to me, right? So I think because of that, there's this sometimes suspicion about how the data is being used. Name a time, they say, oh Lord, I'm gonna lose my job because
victimization is real.
I'm gonna lose my job, so I ain't saying nothing. And if I say something in the name of Jesus, don't attach my name to that, right? And so that's that. Other things, we don't know the benefits of data too. So for example, if you have data, you can then make data-based decisions. It's not based on feeling or your gut. Mind you, even though your gut or your emotion, even though sometimes those things are true, those are correct, you still need the data to support it. You need objective data and subjective data to support it. And so how can we make decisions without data, right? And so other thing, funding. This is something I talk about all the time. Funders, if you were to go to a funder and say, hey, we need this or we need that, they can say, show me the data. Show me the need. And we'll be like, well, everyone know that. Everybody know this issue. Okay, everyone might know it, but if it's not documented, you have no grounds. Right. So those are some of the reasons, we Bahamians, we kind of shy away from that because we don't know, well, what do you even mean by data? How's it going to be used? Is my name attached to it? Am I going to lose my job because I speak up? Right. And then also, well, what's even the benefits? And so those are some of the things I think we should work on, educating our public just so we can move forward. But I must say, though, with my experience with the Bahamian community, we are quite willing to share our perspectives once we know, okay, my name is not going to be attached. So, for example, this study, as well as the study I did in Grand Bahama a couple of years ago, in Grand Bahama, I had over 500 Bahamians participating in that study. Over
wow.
Yeah. And so as long as they knew their name wasn't getting right down here, I ain't attaching what they say to what, they were willing. And so I think for us as researchers, because we have many researchers in the Bahamas, we have, sometimes we might not get to do the research work because of our portfolios. We have so much on our portfolios, we just can't get to it, right? But if we can get to it, I think a lot of us will find the public quite willing to participate if we're just transparent about what it's for.
Doc, let's take a quick break. Let's find out what's happening real quick on the streets of Nassau
Yes.
in terms of traffic. Have you adjusted to this traffic?
Actually, the traffic, I find it being much better pre-COVID. I mean, going through the streets, I say, my Lord, I could get from here to the airport in 35 minutes now, 40 minutes. Before it was much longer than that because I live out east, right? And so I'm like, so it's a little better than, honestly, it's a little better than expected. Now I know in a year, I'll be in that for an hour. Your school start at 8, but you wake up at 6 to leave the house at 6:30 to make sure your child get to school. Oh, I remember them days.
I feel you, girl. Let's find out what's happening on the streets of Nassau. Our
All
traffic
right.
report followed with more. Free your mind. Dr. Anika Bow is the guest today, right here. Star 106 Hits.
Yes.
Brought by Shield Insurance.
I ain't letting you go yet.
Yeah.
It's another busy Friday. The Blue Hill Road.
What I want you to do is to classify what special education is you take for granted that people know. Okay?
Yes.
Not
Okay.
yet. Not yet.
Yes.
You'd be surprised. Have you been surprised?
I've been, just from glancing through the survey data, I realized that some parents, when you ask the question, what type of services does your child receive? They just say special services, right? So they don't necessarily even sometimes know what it is.
That's what I'm saying.
But also I think for students with special needs, the way we identify, we do have an identification system within the Bahamas, but I'm not clear onto the extent of how much that is followed.
I was just about to ask you. We do.
Yes, we actually do, because it's in the handbook. Let me see if I can
Find that, child. Find that.
let me see. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see.
That.
Let me see. My Lord, that might be in my email and not on my desktop. Let me see.
Who's first? You or Erno?
Erno, he is, I think he may be like 4 years older than, yeah. But yeah, he believe he 10 years more.
Right.
Okay, let me see. National Standards for Inclusive Education. Let me see how we define it on here. Yeah, because this document is quite long. So let me see if there's a quick summary, because there's legislation. Oh, come on. Curriculum.
And then, if anything, he said he can get you the proper screen for it. The screen is $100. If you don't want to do that, it means you have the chat back up so you can restore it.
Some people are at higher risk of developing
13. You know what? I am not seeing it. Like, I remember reading it, but I'm not seeing it right away in this. But I can speak about it in general. But in terms of like how we, the exact criteria, we say Bahamas is not popping up because each country is different in how they define special education. But in general, I can talk to it.
You could generalize it then. Okay. All right, real quick. I got 2 commercials. You're saying that, what do you suggest? Just to back it up and put it on this phone? Rather than spend that money, right? How long? But when you back it up, you putting it on this phone, or do I wait for him to get the proper screen, or can I keep that screen and use it? I don't know. Okay. Tell me that then. Okay. Right. Okay. All right. So I was, if you've been trying to reach me, my phone had a little simple drop
Mhm.
and
Yeah, was
broke.
trying to come up.
Everything broke. It cracked up and it won't allow me to get in.
Would have drop off.
So
Shit, the flow.
yeah, but it didn't, the screen didn't look broken, but the back was, and then the screen was broken because you can't do nothing,
Yeah.
can't touch it, nothing.
I do see me on the mics.
I'm so mad here because guess what? Because guess what? It really wasn't a big fall. It wasn't a Humpty Dumpty kind of fall.
But does it end you like a Humpty Dumpty?
It ended like a Dumpty Humpty. Hold on, what's up?
I'll make sure we do it tomorrow.
With NBA League Pass. From Cable Bahamas Business Solution, up to 40
What the
live
hell's this
NBA
happening?
games per week. Sign up
Okay,
now
no,
for
I know what
special
happened.
rates and
That shouldn't have played. I
discounts.
gotta put that back.
Call 601-8911 or now 602-8811
After thing?
for the family.
We got Sunrise, we got Chef.
Right. Yeah.
Business Solution.
24 hours a day, 7 days
So,
365 days a year.
A lot.
a lot.
It's coming full circle.
So take that money from Akira for me. I gave it to tell her he ain't coming no more.
Okay, take it.
And bring it up. Star 106 hits, welcome back. This is Free Your Mind on a Freestyle Friday with Dr. Anika Bo as we check in really what it is. Because when she first came on the show a couple weeks ago, she literally started her survey when it comes to special education in the Bahamas post COVID. Should I say during COVID, because we're still in the midst of it. So before we get into your findings, please do clarify what special ed is.
Yes. And so in general, special education is services we provide to students who you would consider don't fit the typical body of mainstream students. What people don't know, so special education is, for example, if you classify as having a certain disability, right? So then you may or may not receive special services or be placed in special ed. What a lot of people don't know too, students who are also gifted are also considered students needing special education, special services. And so special ed is a continuum of abilities, and we focus in on those abilities. Now, specifically for the Bahamas, there are certain criteria that are outlined in that, and I'm looking at them right now. It's called the National Standards for Inclusive Education. And so there's certain criteria outlined to say whether a child can be placed into special education or not. And so there's a pre-referral stage, there's a referral stage. It's a multidisciplinary team who come together to say, okay, I'm going to run these diagnostics on your child to see whether or not they need services or not. And so in general, that's special ed. So students who are not who are considered that the mainstream education would not be as beneficial to their growth and development.
Now, in your findings, and I've heard this so many times, where a lot of times parents don't recognize, or either they turn a blind eye as to whether or not their child may be classified as needing special ed. Have you found that as well?
Yes, I've found that a lot of teachers mention that, so that has not come up so much with parents interviews and parent surveys. So I have not looked at the surveys in depth yet, but
you went to data.
Right. So I only given you a glance, right? This is a glance too. Don't put no money on this. Right. And so I have found that was resounding with a lot of teachers' responses to me, that, parents are hesitant to place their students in special education, even when they are told that this is beneficial for your students, because of the stigma. The main thing is the stigma. Like, what's going to happen to my child? The labeling of my child. Will my child be teased? Right. And so parents not knowing how their child are experiencing life, really, they'd rather be more protective of their children than not. Now, mind you, you do have parents who say, yes, okay, I'm on board with this. Let's do this for my child. But then there are quite a large group of parents who are very hesitant about having that happen.
But let's examine that for a second. For that parent right
Mhm,
now who's listening,
mhm.
or family relative, think about how you put that child at a disadvantage. Whereas you don't want to identify that your child needs special ed, you put them in a co-ed situation with children who are quote unquote normal.
Or mainstream, we call it like
Say that
mainstream
again?
classrooms, mainstream classrooms,
Mainstream
or
classroom.
general ed, or the general
And
ed
they're
classroom.
not and they're not able to function. They're not able to keep up. Think about the kind of teasing they get then. Like you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah, yeah. And mind you, it can also be if we all collectively as schools, we kind of maybe shift the culture of teasing. Because again, the other thing about students, especially with students with physical disabilities, because again, not all students who are in special ed have a physical disability, right? And so those with physical disabilities, the general public, in our history as Bahamians, sometimes we'd be like, what did their family do? Is that from God? Is that a curse from God? I mean, this is a lot. These are some things we have to deal with and say, no, that's a myth. That's not true. A child, no matter what their ability level, they're precious and they're gifts. They're a gift from God. It doesn't matter, what your child looks like or their ability. But because of that, that's in our history, right? Even there's trickles of that even still today. Parents are dealing with that too. We're a very religious community too. And so that's coupled with that as well. Mhm.
Right. So the special ed child. Now, a lot of people don't even realize that we have special ed institutions. I mean, and how many numbers though? Because I'm thinking of just maybe like three in particular. How many do you know of?
We have, so from the last documentation I saw, we have four. They're spread out in New Providence, Grand Bahama, and I believe Eleuthera. But we have a lot of what we call pull out or resource rooms inside schools. So when I glancing through the list, I think there are at least 12 schools that have pull out classrooms or resource rooms where students with special needs or students requiring special education, the teacher just comes along and say, hey, come, let's work in this unit. Or they may not even mix with general ed students at all. It just depends on the severity of their disability as well.
So we have, you said three or four within the island. So it's basically one in Nassau?
I believe it was two. Two,
Two.
two. It could be five too. I mean, I had the list somewhere. Oh, that's on my other phone because I could have even
No
told
problem.
what the list was. But yeah, that's in my other phone. I'm looking at a different phone. But yeah. So we have them in the Bahamas. So here's what's so interesting though. Here's what I learned about our history of special education. They really started with parents' community advocacy groups. Right. And so it was parents and communities coming together to say, hey, this is a need within our community. What are we doing to support our students? What are we doing to support our families? Let's make this happen. Right. And so then you have, your like Red Claw, Salvation Army. You have all these other institutions who just coming together and say, let's do this. And so that was actually very uplifting for me to see that we have that level of advocacy for our students. Yeah. And these groups are continuing. They're not fading off. Right. And so now all of these schools they also do receive government support. But the amount of one of the principals at the school, she told me, she was like, Bo, we have the government support, but it's amazing the support that comes from the community. She said because in their case, they're actually quite blessed because if they ask, they get it from the community. Even if they don't ask, they still get it because people come and supply. So here's something. One of my findings with the study was that when I asked, okay, so how did students get iPads and devices? They were like, so the teachers were like, well, at first they were really using what their parents had. If the parents had a phone for WhatsApp, take the picture of the work and send it home, send it back. So parents were sharing devices with the kids. If parents had to work, the kids couldn't do schoolwork until the parents came home. Right. But you had churches, you had private companies, you had different organizations donating. So that's really how so many students now have devices to work from. And that's commendable that our community comes together like that and supports our students.
Absolutely. We're going to
Mhm.
take another break. I want to get into the findings of the study and the fact that it's still in full swing, and you're still trying to gather some of that information and that data, and it's not
Mhm.
too late to take part. So we're going to get into that when we come back. Stay tuned, folks. It's Free Your Mind on a Friday right here on Star 106 Hits.
So, Gian, how often have you been flossing? Well,
Okay.
And if I
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
Yes, and I am getting that list for you, right? Oh, is it coming through? Okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so we've got like, oh, you're on the phone?
Hard looking. Yeah, because I bought it. I don't need to. Oh, how quick you'll be able to get that? Oh, sure. Mhm. Okay.
Your double sandwiches and salads. Freshly prepared. Tons of healthy options for all of those that want to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
All right.
Cafe number 2. Calling your order at 341-4302.
Live from the capital city of the Bahamas.
alrighty, and we are live.
This is Star 106.5 FM.
Star 106 Hits. Welcome back, Dr. Anika Bo, our guest for today. And the countdown is on as she tries to finalize her survey where special education in the Bahamas during COVID is concerned. So now that you're pretty much wrapping it up, tell us
Mm-hmm.
your findings thus far. I know we still have a couple days,
Mm-hmm.
still want to submit. It's still possible, correct?
Yes, yes. So there are a couple findings I will highlight right now. And again, these are just glance throughs when I, just looking to see what people have said so far. So one, and this is one that I think we all know, we have a long way to go, right? We have a long way
You
to
don't say.
right? Shocker, right? Shocker.
Really?
Yes, right. We have a long way to go, especially with access to special education here, Grand Bahama, and definitely within our family islands, right? And so a long way to go with resources, human resources, financial resources. Though finances is everywhere, right? I mean, and human resources is even within the general ed population. We still have these struggles too, but it is even more exacerbated within our special ed community. That's just the bottom line. And so, I mean, we even have, for example, teachers and administrators who are somewhat kind of making their own diagnosis of students, right? So this should be happening within a team of professionals who are actually skilled to do so. But if you live in a family island and those professionals can't get to you, what are you going to do, right?
Make
So
your own assessments.
Yeah, like what are you going to do? You're just going to do your best, right? And so again, we have a long way to go. I must say though, from the majority of folks who've responded, they all acknowledge that yes, for example, our Ministry of Ed, they're doing their best, right, with the limited resources they have. It's not like they're sitting down and not doing anything. They're actually doing their best, but we just need more, right? We need more, and what is it that we're going to do? So that's something too that was a little encouraging, seeing that with all the struggles and with all our growth areas, there was this general acknowledgement that what, it's not like we think they're not doing anything. It's just that we just have this great need. So how can we as a community pull together to meet this need, right? So the other thing I want to point out is just the innovation among service providers and teachers that I've heard. The teachers have been so creative in how they're meeting the needs of their students. I mean, so teachers as well as service providers who work within the schools. I mean, one school started what they call like a summer program, right? A summer program just to make sure kids don't fall behind too much. They switched up the way they did schooling. They called it, I can't remember the term right off head, but it was more like more outdoor schooling, where they might teach a child how to ride a bicycle, right? Or they may teach them something else, things that they can do outside. And so they even started a parent program over the summer just to try stop the gap a bit. You've got teachers using software they never even heard of. I mean, I started making a list. I'm like, you're all using that here? Let me pass this on to folks in Michigan, because I don't see, we don't know about some of these that you all are mentioning. So let me pass this on to my pre-service teachers to support their work as well. So again, to the exchange of ideas, right? Because a lot of times we think, oh, we got to borrow from somewhere else. No. We have our own brilliance, and let's share our brilliance with the world as well. So the innovation, and then also the sacrifice people are making. And so in terms of service providers, and of course, teachers and admins too, but service providers, some of them started offering free services, like ramping up their free services or at a reduced rate. Some of them started going to people's homes. I mean, they were always doing that, but even more so than before, just to meet family needs. And I point that out because first, that does not happen everywhere, because honestly, if you ain't got it, they'll say too bad for you in other countries. But our people are saying, okay, I will reduce the cost to try to help you out. And that's a big sacrifice when you think they have their own families to feed too, right? They have their own agenda to do too, but they're willing to do this. Some teachers went to students' homes with food. They said, I know my child was on a lunch program. I don't know if they ate. So I'm going to bring a meal to the family and just check in.
Nice.
Yeah, and then you have teachers too, all using their own resources. Some teachers didn't have a laptop, bought one, their own money, And again, this is also, I imagine, general ed teachers too. But if you consider the resource differences between teachers within the special ed community versus the general ed, I mean, they've taken out their own pockets to buy electronics just so they can teach their students. And so the innovation, the sacrifice, the pulling together, that is something I think we need to be commended on as a Bahamian community, because again, when we see all what we don't have, and we're just so more prone to criticize, it's very easy to miss what's actually going on and who is making what work. These teachers are making it work to the best of their ability, and it is amazing, and they should be commended. The teachers, the service providers, administrations, the principals say, I trust my staff. I'm going to let them innovate and do what they need to do to meet our students' needs. So those are a couple of the findings I just wanted to highlight, that yes, we have a huge need, and it's almost disheartening, really in some cases, but we do have resiliency, and we do have people coming together and communities coming together. So let's recognize that and see how we can build upon that.
Now, in terms of people still wanting to contribute, how can they do so?
Yes, y'all, 829-7477. 829-7477. Or you can email me at bo@oakland.edu. Again, we still want more voices from our family islands. So those of you who have completed a survey, WhatsApp it to someone in the family island. Say, hey, I know you're part of the special ed community. Let's hear your voice. Even if we just get one voice from each of the other islands, that's representation, right? And so let's get that in, folks. If you want to chat with me and not fill out a survey, call me. Call me 829-7477. Yeah.
So even again, because of fear of giving out information, personal info, you would even go as far as just talking to the person and gathering what it is they say without an ID, so to speak.
Correct. Most people, I don't even know their names who I spoke with. And definitely in the survey, I mean, I don't know their names. The only thing I ask, I think for demographics, I think which island they're on, or if they had a child, which school their child was going to, and maybe their age to see, or and the gender. But not I don't ask for names, and yeah, I don't ask for names. And in some instances, when folks are talking to me, I wouldn't even ask the school, especially if it was a teacher or a service provider. And they can volunteer it, but I don't necessarily ask for it because again, the community is so small. You know, they might just feel uncomfortable saying it, even though I won't share it anyway. So folks who have shared their names and folks who have identified, what I do, I just white out or delete whatever their name was or any other references they make to anybody, because I do want to share my data. I will be sharing my data with the Ministry of Ed, so I remove all identifiers so nobody knows who said what, but then you still have the collective story.
I think you need to stress that, it stops right there. It's not going
It's
anywhere. Your information.
nowhere. I mean, and even in fact, folks who have WhatsApp me, the only thing, I mean, I recognized your number because I've been thanking people and said, hey, if you are okay with it, send me your number so I can top you up, because I just want to thank you for your time. Right? It's a small thing, but I would like to say thanks. And so folks, many folks have done so, many have not. Fine. But we're getting the voice. So that's the most important thing. We're getting the perspectives and we're getting the voice. And we're seeing what's happening.
How has the response been in Grand Bahama? How much response did you get from the second city?
I would say just off head, I mean, probably at least a third, maybe even, it could even be up to 50%. Probably not 50, but a third to probably a third. It's been fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, so Freeport is represented, but more of the other islands is
More of
what
the
you.
other, yes, more of the other islands. We want to hear, and I can't call them all, but all of that, just call Inagua. I mean, that's my mom's island, right? Inagua, Matthew Town, send the survey in, right? The Acklands, Crooked Island, that's my grandparents, send it in.
I got
Yes, let's hear. Abaco, Andros, Eleuthera, Cat Island, San Salvador, Ragged. Let's get this in. Even if just one person from each of those islands respond, that is a representation, because at least we have a snapshot. Because right now we don't have it. Right, we have a snapshot of about 4 or 5 islands from when I last checked a couple of days ago. Mind you, some more might have responded, but the more the better.
that's for sure. Now, you
Yeah.
know what? Here's a question for you. When it comes to recognizing and being able to pinpoint a child who needs special ed, what are the top 2 or 3 things one would look for? And not in terms of physical disability.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's pronounced.
So everything is used through diagnostics, right? And so you can never look at a child and say, oh yeah, that person needs special services. It's always a series of tests that you go through, and it's not just tests from one person. It's a multidisciplinary team who tests for different aspects. There's different domains. It can be psychomotor, it can be cognitive, it can be behavioral, but whatever domains they test for, and they put the story together. Because a lot of times too, like for example, sometimes when we as teachers, I'm a former teacher, I might look at a student and say, oh yeah, that child has I don't know, ADHD, right? Or, oh, that child is on the spectrum. Not necessarily. That can just be my interaction with that child. But if you see that child in different classrooms, a completely different child. So this is why you need a team. And this is why too, even as parents, a parent can't make the diagnose any either, right? I mean, you really need a team of people. And again, too, the parent is a part of it. You can't make it without the parent's voice. And the parent actually is the one who would say, well, okay, yes, I will allow this for my child, or no, no, that's just not for my child. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, again, give that info as to how they can find you for the next couple of days as you soak in this wonderful sun and great
Yes.
food.
Yes. So again, 829-7477. Those of you who have already completed the survey, send it out to somebody else who you know is part of the special ed community. And then my email, BOWE at oakland.edu. It's going to be completely anonymous. We want your perspectives. The Bahamian community have been awesome so far in responding. If we get more responses in, fantastic. And then too, before I go to Empress, I just would like to thank, I just like to again thank the Bahamian community. Thank you so much. Without your response, I would have never been able to be successful with this study, and we wouldn't be successful together. So thank you very much for that. The Ministry of Education, quite supportive. I mean, they were sending out my surveys, my information to their networks, and that's, and I got responses like that as well. My family members, like my brother Erno, I mean, we nickname him the hustler, right? He has all these connections.
That's a hustler for true.
He's a hustler, right? We have a lot of nickname for him, but I ain't gonna say it here, right? And so thank you very much to to my brother Erno and to my friends, my family, just getting the word out, because it's been quite successful because of you all. And you, Empress, thank you. I mean, without your partnering in this, the majority of the Bahamians would not hear. And I'm even still, from the first time I came on, I think 2 weeks ago, I'm still 3 weeks ago, I think, I'm still getting people saying, hey, I heard you on Empress. So thank you for partnering with me and getting this out.
Yes. Glad to be a part of it. And I hope you are able to get representation from the Family of Islands as well in the next couple of days. We last minute people, you know how that go.
Right. And honestly, to tell you the truth too, even though I'm here, they can still complete over, keep completing it, because I'm not going to close the survey off until maybe a month from now anyway. So even let's see, right? Because I don't have to be, even though I'm physically here in the Bahamas now, and I'm leaving to go back to Michigan in a few days, that study can still go on, right?
That's just Oakland.edu still works.
Still works. And I mean, folks won't be able to call me because it'll be too expensive for them to call, that way. But definitely the surveys, you can do it. Yeah.
All right, girl, don't sleep on these packages with these certain phone company. You're able to call the U.S. and Canada for little or nothing. So don't do it.
Oh, child, I mean, here doing better than where? Because mine is Mine is a dime, $10 a minute. So I must.
No.
Listen, I got that last phone bill from being international. Ooh, I had to change my company.
Thank you, Dr. Bo. All the best to you.
Yes.
You know what to do. Keep it locked up at the hour of 5 o'clock here. Drive at 5. Feel Good Friday, right here on Star 106 Hits.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yes, Shirley.
Yes.
Call me before you go.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna get Erno to. Yeah.
Exactly. I know usually his time is in the mornings during the weekday. So I know if you riding with him at any point, or if you out on the street tomorrow, call me.
Child, he don't sleep because I can't listen. At night I was like, I gotta be in bed by 10, but he don't sleep. I hustling.
That's good, huh?
But I can see what his schedule like, so he could stop by.
You don't have to wait for him. Just call me if you're on the road tomorrow.
Okay.
Call me.
Okay, very cool. All right. Bye.
Bye.